Welcome to Stormwater Drainage Solutions, and in today's video we're going to be working on this concrete storm structure. Now, as you can see here, there's quite a bit of erosion going on the right hand side, and this is partially due to this lip that is directly in front of the storm drain. It's not allowing water to flow in very efficiently, so we're going to go ahead and solve this issue. And that contraption that you see inside the storm drain, that's also a major contributing factor to this erosion, but we'll get to that later in the video. So basically, this storm drain collects all the runoff water to this neighborhood. So it's very important that we keep this storm drain up to par and that it functions properly. Now, the other thing that we're going to be doing here, if you look down in that ditch, you can see all that limestone that eroded out of the bank. And this area here is just very clogged up right in front of the discharge end. So we're going to go ahead and clean that up as well to allow this to function a lot better. Now, because the water wants to travel around this direction due to the road being slightly slanted and the ground elevation, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a curb across this area. That way there's no way in the future that water can make it over and around this side. Now, we're going to be putting rebar stakes down into the ground for our concrete, but we're also going to fill this entire erosion void with concrete. That way it's bomb proof. Then there's no way it's going to be able to erode out again in the future. So now, while Miguel is setting up the rebar stakes, I'm actually going to be shoveling this limestone back into the eroded out side bank and utilizing it to help fill that gap in before we put our fill dirt. Now, I'm not putting the limestone back in the cavity right next to the road because, like I said earlier, that's going to be filled entirely with concrete. But there's no reason to not reutilize this limestone where it eroded out at, because once we get finished with this, there's no way water's going to be able to make it around and it's not going to be able to erode out again. Now, once we have the rebar stakes hammered in the ground where we want them, we're going to go ahead and put some rebar going laterally as well. And we're going to use rebar ties to hold it in place while we pour the concrete. It's very important that you don't skip out on rebar ties. They're not that expensive, and they're important because they hold that rebar so it doesn't move while you're pouring concrete into your form. So to take care of that lip on the front of this storm drain, we're going to be using an angle grinder with a diamond cutting wheel on the end, and we're going to make cuts along the front of the lip and on the top, and then we're going to slowly chip those pieces of concrete out until we have the entire lip removed. Then we're going to take the angle grinder and we're going to smooth the area out. That way water can make a nice transition into the storm drain. Now, whenever you're using an angle grinder to cut concrete, it's very important to wear some kind of safety glasses because debris does get flung around. You also want to wear a pair of gloves so you don't scuff your hands up, and wear some kind of a dust mask because this creates a lot of dust and you don't want to be breathing in concrete dust. That's not very good for your lungs. Now, to keep the dust down, you can use a hose and put water on the ground periodically, but I find it's kind of annoying to put too much water because then water's getting flung all over you and the tool and it just makes it harder to work. But put some water down because it will help a little bit with the dust. Alright, so you've probably been wondering what this weird contraption is inside the storm drain. So basically what we've been told this is I don't know who it was, but somebody had the bright idea to install a French drain along the right side of this ditch, and they connected the French drain into this storm drain, and then they put this weird catching structure so it could catch water coming off the road and basically inject it into that French drain, and that French drain would then act as a leach field and leach water, I guess, out the side of the bank. The problem with doing that is water is going to seek the lowest point, and the lowest point is the ditch. So all they did was just create an erosion problem by doing this, because the water is going to look for the easiest path out, and that easiest path happened to be right next to this storm drain that was already having issues with water making it into it because of that lip on the front. Now that we got that concrete lip removed, we have our rebar in place, it's time to start building our form to make our concrete curb. Now we're going to make this curb a little extra long because we want to make sure that water cannot go around it and that it's going to make it into this storm drain structure. So whenever you're mixing more than a couple bags of concrete, I really would suggest using a mixer. either rent or buy one. It saves your back and it makes the job a lot easier compared to using a shovel. So I didn't actually get any footage of us pouring the concrete in because I was too busy helping Miguel mix the concrete and move that bin around. But as you can see, we got the concrete fully installed, and now we're just using a curb tool to be able to make a nice edge along our curb. And whenever you're working with concrete, you know, time is of the essence. You want to work that concrete before it starts to set up too much. Alright guys, well that just about does it for this video. I went back a few days later and I removed the wood forms, and it was just in time for a rainstorm. So I actually did get this on footage with a lot of water dumping into this system. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something. And give us a like, it really helps us out, supports the channel. And now I'm just going to go ahead and leave you with the rain footage. Until next time, this is SWDS signing off.